Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Oh, hiya. I'm Hali, Hali Jafari. I'm based in the UK, and I am a visionary business architect. So I basically help with the vision and the imagination and the creativity behind a business.
Sounds amazing. So I'd like to know a little bit more about that, or a lot more actually.
Yeah, so I mean, it started because all my life, I have played both roles in terms of creativity has played a huge part in my life. Um, and then I've also been a business manager and then developing my own business. So I've had these kind of like almost two polar opposite, well, what felt like polar opposite kind of roles in my life. Um, and never really felt like they worked together until I had my own business. Um, and then um, going from being an award-winning cake artist to then an artist that worked on canvas and things like that, um, I still loved the business side of stuff and just couldn't find the way how they would work together. So I started dabbling a little bit in AI this year, well, no, about 2 years now. Um, and I started to notice that the difference between good AI and sort of not great AI as such was there wasn't much imagination, human imagination behind the ones that that weren't so great. So we have AI in so many different ways, right? We have it in like automations and doing robotic things, but then we have trying to use AI such as ChatGPT and things like that, where everyone starts to sound the same. And so I kind of made it a bit of a mission to create my own little bot for myself that started to sound like me so that it could help me in my business coaching, my business strategy and business coaching that I was doing. Um, so it kind of reminded me that whilst I was learning all about this and whilst I was creating my own, that actually there was so much creativity and imagination that went behind it. Now, learning to code and things like that is more for kind of the people who really do tech, and I'm not really a tech person. In fact, I was so scared of technology and AI until very recently because I almost felt like I was on the complete opposite end of always making things with my hands. Um, so it's been really interesting, especially the last year, where my business has kind of taken off in me applying all the creative knowledge and creative intelligence that I have into something that basically most people would consider not very creative and more about kind of code and technology. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do. And I know with AI, it's also like how people use it because it's not just AI is good or it's bad. A lot of it is in the how it's used. And as I always say, garbage in, garbage out.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. I always say bad people will create bad things with in any kind of industry with anything, and good people will always try and create something good that helps other people, and hopefully most people are trying to use it for good. And I mean, I have ADHD, so what's been amazing for me with it is how much it's kind of helped me with streamlining my business. So, sort of having that second brain, almost like my own brain, but having that second brain to kind of talk to and bounce ideas off of has been pretty amazing. Um, but really everything I do, even when I'm doing business strategy sessions with people, everything I do comes from a creativity first perspective. Because I think it's one of the most underrated things that we must make time for as humans, um, that in this very fast-paced world at the moment seems to be something that we have put aside as a nice to have if we've got time for it, that kind of thing. And I think that when you start actually prioritizing it as a human need, because as humans we need to be creative, it's part of who we are. Everything else starts to elevate and your business grows like easier, your brain problem solves faster. Um, there's just so many benefits, and also obviously calms your nervous system. There's just so many benefits to kind of actually putting creativity as a first in your business. So that's really what I do a lot of kind of like talks on, and how I help my clients in anything that we're doing together. We always think about creativity first.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting approach because I know a lot of people want to rush to the templates because they're like, it worked for someone else. If I use this template, maybe it'll work for me. But what I've learned is that some template that worked in front of one audience, you might have an audience of completely different people with completely different goals and values, and they're not going to like that templated content that you put out from something that doesn't fit.
That's so true. And I think almost you've just almost just explained the reason why I decided that a custom built AI was better than a template or anything that I was ever going to either create or use. Um, and it's because, like you said, templates are built, the person who's using it, it's built for them, their business, their audience. And it might not necessarily work for you and your audience, and the people who love listening to you and why they love listening to you. Um, Whereas if you have something custom built that's still you, it's you, it just has some frameworks behind it that help you to maybe just work a bit faster or something. That's completely different than just using a template. So that's what I've really sort of enjoyed with marrying the two together, if that makes sense.
Sounds like a lot of fun for you.
It is fun. It's really fun. I feel like I'm back in the 90s with like a little Tamagotchi a lot of the time. I'm training something. I guess being just naturally quite creative and strategic, it's quite a fun way of seeing something come to fruition quite quickly as well.
Yeah. AI can do things like much faster than I could do them.
Yeah, exactly. So AI doing something faster is the whole point, really. It's not about it really replacing you. And this is why staying creative and maintaining creativity in this day and age is super important, I think.
Well, I also think it's important just in order to stand out because there's a lot of things that look very similar. And if it all starts to sound the same, then people are like, well, why should we choose you versus everybody else who's using that exact same or like similar kind of thing?
Absolutely. And I think you've just it's sort of like hit the nail on the head as to why we had this big trust recession in 2025. Um, because AI came about 2023 when people started just about sort of playing with ChatGPT. It came around in the end of 2023. 2024, it was all fun and everyone started using it, and it was everyone was getting, it was fun, it was quick and everything. By 2025, everyone started sounding the same because they were just using ChatGPT with prompts, and everyone's using the same prompts. So if you're using the same prompt and you're using the same artificial intelligent brain, you're all going to sound the same, right? So that's what's happened in 2025, where it's very hard to differentiate who's who, what they do, and why you should choose someone to help you. Like what is it that's different about you to the next person, because we're all offering the same thing. We're all offering business strategy or coaching or um, you know, account, like whatever niche that you're in, you're going to be offering something that so is the next person. So if you start sounding the same as well, then there's no clear way to differentiate why someone should choose you. And I think you actually commented on quite a few of my posts about this year, where I sort of put up a few posts on Facebook about, integrity and what, like, why have people kind of lost trust and stuff. And I think the biggest point that came out of that was that people felt that they had been missold something. And I wonder a lot of the time if that is because the language all sounds the same, but we've all got different ways of delivering something. So it's very important that we maintain who we are, and why our things are different, and why someone should choose you. And if you are not thinking things through creatively, then yes, you're going to kind of end up sounding just the same as everyone else, or using a template, or just using generic AI.
Yeah. And I've noticed another thing I've noticed when I've played around with AI, I don't really use it too much because I haven't had much success, is that sometimes the things it comes up with, it's like, wait a minute, that's not me. And like that's not exactly what I do.
That's exactly it. So there's kind of like there's three steps to using AI, really well. And that is, you need to have the brain behind the AI first. So if you're just using generic chat GPT, there's no brain that's different to what someone else is using. Whereas if you used something that was custom built, you build the brain. And then you have to give it your frameworks and your IP, intellectual property, your everything that you do and you own has to be built and given to it. And then you can start to prompt it. Now, what happens is most people don't do step one and two, and they just use something generic like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and they just use a prompt. Now, without the brain and without the frameworks in there first, it's not going to sound like you because it's going to be so generic.
That has definitely been my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very tricky one because I think everyone wants to use AI and use the speed of it, but you do need to have like I think that if you're going to use it and use it correctly, you need to almost train your own bot to be able to do that.
Yeah, I that's not something I've done or really gotten into myself. So, and I know there's also been like every time I post a post about AI, I'm not sure when I did the last one, I got so much engagement on it. There were like pro AI people who loved it, people who were very
Yes.
much against AI, who were like, I'm never going to use this in my business. So,
Yeah. I do understand that, and I think that's sorry, I just need to sh shut this door a second. Yeah, I do understand that, and I think that is a issue in that we don't have enough knowledge about it yet. So there are people that are just very much against it, and I do understand why. And I used to be, I think I used to be one of those people, or maybe I was just scared of it. So I know that it's here, and I know that businesses that use it and use it effectively are going to propel. So because of that, I made it my mission this year to actually understand it properly and learn how to use it ethically, learn how to use it properly. And this is exactly why the first thing I did was train my own GPT into me, because then I was not using stolen property or someone else's property or someone else's frameworks. It was all mine. It's just amplified because I'm using it, but it's me. It's like having me doubled, cloned or as such. And just someone where on a day where my brain isn't working so great, because, we still have a life, we still have family, we still have children, maybe aging parents. A lot of us have a lot of stuff going on all the time, and our brains are not always on it 100% all the time. So it's quite nice sometimes when I need to really quickly come up with something or write something or even write an email to a client or something. I know what I want to say, but I can't articulate it very well. If I just go in and use Hali AI, it's just me. Hali AI talks like Hali does. So I can basically tell it what I need, and it will come back, and I'll have to maybe do a couple of revisions, but nothing major. I wouldn't read it and go, "Oh, that's absolutely not me." Whereas if I use a generic, if I was going to use Gemini, Claude, or ChatGPT very generically, then it's probably going to come back with something that I then need to go in and change quite a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. So less revisions in it.
Yeah, exactly. Because at the end of the day, the whole point of AI for most of us is going to be time saving. So if we then have to go in and kind of revise it all, then it kind of defeats the object of using it in the first place. What I want to be able to use it for is for speeding up things, with the amount of content we have to create nowadays and the amount of connection we need to have with our audience and things like that. It's just a really handy way of being able to do that much more often and much more effectively, because it can bulk create things for me, tell me where I need to post it, tell me what day I need to post it on. And that just frees up a little bit of my brain so that I can use that for helping clients, Because content creation, I mean, whether we like it or not, has taken over, right? It takes up so much time for us.
I know you're gonna tell us a little bit about how you can use creativity intentionally. So when you're doing these creative tasks, hopefully you can just be
Yeah.
more creative because I know that's a struggle. I know I have those days where I'm like creatively blocked and then I doom scroll, but that doesn't always help.
Yeah, I do get it. And I think that's a bit of a vicious cycle as well. We doom scroll and we're thinking looking for we're almost looking for motivation or inspiration to what to do to be creative. But we end up just continue in the block, and we end up continuing the creative block because we're not actually doing. So I always say this, the clarity comes in the doing. So if we are waiting for the clarity so that we can do the creative thing, it's not going to work. It has to be the other way around. So I make it, and this is what I do with my clients, is we structure in creativity time, and it's a must. It's a daily habit. It's something that we would have done years and years ago without even thinking, because our lives were totally different. We had to be a bit more creative um on the daily. Even if it was how we washed clothes, a machine didn't do it for us. We did more things with our hands. um Obviously nowadays a lot of things are done for us. But we still need to keep the creativity going, and the best way to keep creativity going is to actually do it. And it's not about being perfect. So I have basically a creative reset kind of structure that I work with clients to get them to do, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. Just to give your audience a little bit of a a bit of inspiration in terms of it is something that they could do every day. It's not reserved for just people who think they're creative or like to be creative. It's actually just part of who we are and what we should try and make time for.
Yeah, so I'd love to know about that.
Brilliant. So are you happy for me to share slides?
Yeah, go ahead, share
Yeah,
slides.
brilliant. It just keeps me on track.
Yeah, let's see. Click to share. Mm. Not sure how that works.
Okay, I've just requested
I'm
to
gonna
share.
allow.
Wonderful. So I will share my screen and there we go. Can you see that, Laurie? Is that
It's
on
black
full
for me,
screen?
so I don't know.
It's black. Okay, great.
There
Has
we
it come
go.
up now? Yeah.
And
Okay.
now I see it.
Lovely. Okay, so I'll go through these slides. It's not a very long talk. It's just about the creative reset and about how a 30-minute method for sharper thinking and more time. And it's basically how you can add in up to half an hour a day extra into your day. Not so, sorry, you use half an hour to do this task to bring in up to 3 hours extra into your day. So what we're going to explore is how 30 minutes of intentional creativity can unlock clarity, direction, and momentum in your business. So I'll just do a very quick introduction. I know you've got it written out, like who I am and what I'm talking about today, but I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of give you a bit of a background on what I do, where it came from, that kind of thing. So um, basically, this is a who, what, why, and how. So I'm Hallie. I'm a visionary business architect. I'm a business strategist, mum of 4 children. I specialize in helping founders build businesses that feel aligned, profitable, and human. And how I do this is I design, create clarity frameworks, business systems, and creativity first strategies that help founders unlock direction, momentum, and sustainable growth. And the reason why I do this is because creativity isn't a gift for the chosen few, despite what people may think when they say they don't have a creative bone in their body. It's actually a strategic lever that sharpens decision making, it increases capacity and unlocks time. And you don't have to be good at it. There's no such thing as being good or bad at creativity. We're not talking about being artistic here, we're talking about being creative. Um, a second reason is that most overwhelm isn't a workload problem, it's a clarity problem. So a lot of the time when we don't have clear strategies and a clear framework, it feels like we're overloaded with work, and that the workload is too much of a problem. And then number three, when founders understand how to access creative intelligence, their entire business becomes simpler, smarter, and easier to run. And how I do this is I help ambitious creatives and service-based founders gain clarity, refine their business architecture, and build systems that support the life they want. And we do this either via coaching and business strategy sessions, or I bring AI into their business to help them. So let's get on to the actual talk. So have you ever felt like there's just never enough time? I call them time sucks, and they are absolutely everywhere. It's emails, admin, to-do list, notifications, and these are all just the business stuff, let alone the life stuff. We still have life admin and life to-do lists and life emails that we have to consider as well. But we spend our days reacting most of the time instead of leading. And the cost isn't just time. The real cost is mental clutter, fragmented focus, and businesses built on urgency instead of intention. So a lot of the time we're in reactive instead of proactive. Here's a quick stat for you. 58% of our workday is spent on low impact tasks. Now, this is a from Asana Work Index from 2023, and the stats may have changed, but on average, I should imagine it's going to be over half of our workday is spent on low impact tasks. So if we can automate some of those things, then we save time. But equally, we need to think about how we're thinking about our business in order to save time. And the one of the biggest myths is that more productivity hacks gives us more time. So again, the whole AI thing and where it fits in with me and how I do coaching is that it's great to have all these things that do a lot of automated things in our business, but that isn't the only thing that you need in order to create this time that we're trying to always get. We're always trying to look for more time, but we can't manage time. There's still 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter what you do, there's 24 hours in a day. So, what we actually need to do is start creating space. So, then my big idea came about a few years ago that creativity wasn't a luxury. It's actually a time-saving strategy when we use it correctly, because it helps to clear your head, it helps spark focus, gives us great new ideas, and also helps us to make decisions faster. It's also brilliant for problem solving. So, what is strategic creativity? Strategic creativity is adding in 30 minutes or up to an hour. Although for most of us we don't have that time, so 30 minutes is more than enough of intentional creative time each day. There's no outcomes, no pressure. It's literally just a space for your brain to breathe. So we're not thinking, oh, I must do this particular creative activity in order to bring this into my life. It's more a case of it doesn't really matter what the activity is. It's a case of bringing in the intention to be creative for at least 30 minutes every day. So my framework for the 30-minute creative habit is number one, pause. Number two is play. And number three is prioritize. I'm going to look into these a little bit more in a second, but what you'll notice with this is it's almost the opposite way in which most people run their businesses. So most people will wake up in the morning and prioritize what needs to be done for the day. So they'll start with opening their laptop to do the important tasks first. Then they'll think of moments of pausing in the day because they need that break time. And then if they've got time, they'll add in some play. But we actually do this in the other way around. So we start the day with a pause, we add in play, and then we start to look at how we're going to prioritize our day. So step one, pause. This is where you literally step away from doing. So let's say it's a work day for you today. You wake up in the morning, you've had you drink and all the things you really need to do sort of first thing in the morning. But before you attempt anything work-wise, is take 5 to 10 minutes to do one of these activities or something like it. So it could be journaling, doodling, mind mapping, even a silent walk for 5, 10 minutes. And when I say silent walk, I mean not listening to a podcast, not listening to anything, literally a silent walk, not having a friend with you. This is all about you being in your own body and in your own state and actually being able to pause. So 10 minutes of proper pause every day will help bring our nervous system back to where it should be, recalibrate it. Or a brain dump is always good. Now, depending on where I am in my life in it that moment, or where I am hormonally, or how much time I've got, or any of those things will depend on what activity I choose. But I will always start my day with a pause, and sometimes the most basic one is a brain dump or a journaling session, or just sitting there and doodling. And then we look at play and how to bring play into our day. So what we're thinking now is, how do I now do something creative without a goal? And why should I do it? The biggest reason why is your brain processes problems in the background. So if you've got anything left over from the day before, your brain is processing those things in the background whilst you're concentrating on play. Now, play can be anything. It can be anything, but it should be something creative, something fun, something that you wouldn't mind exploring, or something that you enjoy. So for me, for instance, that will always be painting, drawing, doodling, um, baking a cake, for instance, um, coming up with a new recipe, uh, doing some crafting or something like that, because that's what I enjoy doing. I know for some people it can be actually taking 20 minutes to do physical exercise and being creative in that way, or dancing or something. For other people, it can be singing, playing the piano, playing another instrument, something like that. But every time it's something creative and it's something that doesn't need a goal. So it's not, let me come up with a perfect painting, for instance. It's more, let me get out a few paints, a few tools, different tools, and something to work on and just splat paint around, for instance. So it's about 20 minutes of doing this, 15 to 20 minutes of doing this with no outcome, no goal in mind. And then after that, we look at step three, which is prioritize. Now, this is the bit that then, now that we've done a pause, we've played, we've paused, we've played, we've done everything that we need to do to start our day off in the best way. Now we can start thinking about what we actually need to prioritize for our work day, um, and in our business, and the things that are really important that day to do. So now that your head's clear, you decide what actually matters. What happens is, because we've done pause and play, you actually avoid procrastination and perfection, because you've learned a little bit every day. So you are practicing doing things without a goal. That helps with the whole procrastination perfection thing, which is actually two sides of the same coin. We're just trying to do something perfect, or we're avoiding doing it because we don't want it to not be perfect. It helps us to avoid second guessing, and it helps avoid burnout because we've taken time to pause and play before anything else. And these are really, really, really important things that we need to be doing every day. Now, what most people tend to do is wake up, have coffee, have caffeine. If they're very disciplined, they might go to the gym. But for a lot of people, and there's no shame in this at all, because I can still be one of those people, is to get up, have coffee, have a quick clean up the kitchen or whatever, and then get straight on, open my laptop and do work. Now, what I haven't done there is stop and just pause and take some time. And I haven't done anything fun or creative to allow my brain to problem solve, so that when I then go to opening up my laptop, my brain is just as bad as my laptop. There's 100 tabs open. So real life examples, for instance, like companies like Google, Adobe, and 3M intentionally build creative space into their schedules for their staff because it amplifies focus, innovation, and strategic thinking. High performing companies protect creativity because they understand one thing: clarity and innovation aren't accidents, they're engineered, and they're engineered because it's made intentional. So what does this look like for me? My creative intelligence practice is daily clarity journaling. Journaling's not for everybody, so don't ever force yourself to do this. But it could be mind mapping or brainstorming, but something where you actually take some time to do the thing. Intentional creative time, so not random, not accidental, actually putting in the 20 minutes, the 15 minutes to do something. And also having a protected space for strategic thinking. So for me at the moment with a toddler, my bedroom, probably not the best place right now, but is the only place I can actually go away. If I really need to think on something for a client, I need to have spaces that are clear of that. So we've done the pause, we've done the play, and now we need to do the strategic thinking and actually do what we need to do. They almost all happen in separate spaces. So when we're trying to do all of these things in the one place, it can feel like we can't quite separate it. So the results of this 30 minutes per day means that I consistently gain back around 3 hours a day. And that is 3 hours a day from thinking. And we were talking earlier about like doom scrolling, and things that unintentionally suck up your time. Or even it could be thinking, oh, let me just finish 3 batches of laundry while I'm doing this thing. So I haven't intentionally placed time for it all. I also get, my decision making becomes faster and sharper. My focus increases and overwhelm decreases, and I operate with clarity and not chaos, which is very hard to do as someone with ADHD. So having this process in place means that I get to create things in my day really, really intentionally, and I get to decide where my time goes without it kind of feeling like it's about to take over. And the thing is we all need this. We all need creativity. We're not lazy, distracted, or bad at focus. Life is very busy these days. We're operating in systems that drain clarity instead of creating it. Our brains are designed for cycles of play, space, and flow. And that's where clarity, ideas, and direction actually come from. So, creativity isn't a luxury. It's actually a neurological reset for productivity and clarity. It really helps you to learn how to problem solve and learn how to do it fast. So remember, when I'm talking about creativity, I'm not talking about sort of being particularly good at art or being good at music or being great at dancing. I'm just talking about just doing it. Because before someone came along, some human came along and decided what was good or bad dancing or good or bad music or good or bad art, we just used to do this as humans. And as children, we would have done it without any thought to whether it was good or not. We just did it. It is part of who we are as humans. Um, so the results with 30 minutes of creative habit daily, you could achieve up to 3 hours saved in scattered time. You get faster decisions, clearer priorities, less burnout, more action taking, and a healthier mindset. So, what I often say to people is just try this for 1 week. Spend 30 minutes a day in intentional creative pause, play, and prioritization, the framework that I explained earlier. Notice how your clarity sharpens, your decisions feel easier, and your energy shifts. This is your micro experiment in creative intelligence, a small change that reveals what's possible with the right structure. And anybody can do this. It's just a case of just remembering, even if you have to put it in your calendar or something, that for 30 minutes in the morning, that's what you would do. Um, so your takeaway from this, hopefully, is that you understand that you don't need more hours. We still only have 24 hours a day. You don't need to do more in those hours. You actually just need a clearer operating system. And creativity is how you build it. So this is just a very quick, just final words to say thank you for listening to me. And just something to always bear in mind is that time isn't just something you manage. We're always talking about managing time, but you can actually design your time. So when you create space, you create clarity, and clarity gives you back your time. You're designing your time. So if you're ready for your next level of clarity, just for Laurie's audience here, you are very welcome to scan the code and book a free 30-minute clarity session with me, where we can map your next strategic step for you. So I'd love to just offer that to your audience, Laurie, and I will be happy to add the URL for that into. I'll pop it in the chat shortly. So I will stop sharing my screen now, and then if you've got any questions for me on that whole thing, then we can have a look at that. How was that? What did you think of that?
I thought it was pretty good. And I was like thinking about my own morning routine. And I think like what I normally do is I normally do like a spiritual practice and then I go in and listen to like, modules in this program that I bought. So like, well, kind
Mm.
of doing something else. But I'm like, well, the thing is, if I'm listening to somebody, I'm not really clearing out that brain space.
Mm. Yeah.
I kind of seen that, like,
Yeah. You're
yeah, and
doing
then
you're doing the right thing in that you're starting your day with intention, and that is the thing that most people miss. So it's great that you're doing that, but what's even better is to just start that space from a place of kind of like being in yourself, rather than what someone else is offering you.
yeah, yeah. So I see where I could make that better, and like, and I think the unintentional is like another piece of it because like a lot of times when I'm being creative, it's like intentional, like, oh, I want to create this for my business, or I want to create this thing because like I have this project, and I think like the not being goal directed, I think that's
Mm.
like another piece that I often don't think about.
Yeah, and that is one of the biggest things that if quite often if I'm having a conversation with someone, it'll be about kind of like, are you a creative? How do you bring creativity into your life? And they'll always either say, "Oh, I'm not creative. I don't have a creative bone in my body," or they will say something like, "Oh yeah, I'm really creative. I love being creative on Canva," or "I love being creative creating things for my business." And quite often what I'll say to that is, "That's brilliant, and that's just amplifying your creativity. But what do you do just to be creative?" And then that's when they sort of go, "Oh, I'm not sure I do." And so it's not that they don't, it's not when someone says they don't think they're creative, it's normally because they just haven't made time for that intentionally, because they think that creativity a lot of the time means they have to be good at something, whether that be music, dance, art, drawing, writing. And actually it's not. It's just about it's a really clever way for us to process a lot of things in our lives and in our business. And we don't need a goal for it. We don't need to have an outcome that we want to reach with it. We just need to just do it. It's the same way we need to breathe and wash and eat and drink and move our bodies. We actually do need to be creative. What happens when we stop being creative or we don't make time for it? We have a higher risk of anxiety, and depression, and procrastination. Um, and that is because we've not where's our outlet? As human beings, we're creative, we're born creative. So if we're not utilizing it and making sure we've kind of let it out of us somehow, then it starts to pile up and we start to feel these emotions as anxiety.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. I know for a while I was going through some stuff, so I was like, I didn't want to leave myself alone with myself. So I think what happened was I found it difficult to just sit and be creative at that point.
hmm And so and that is so common as well. And so what I would say in those instances when you feel like you can't be creative or you don't know how to be creative is to just start with something as basic as get a pen, get a piece of paper, just sit there and doodle. Even if you're doing something else, so you're scrolling your phone or something like that, but just have the pen and paper there. Or if you're listening to a podcast, doodle at the same time. The point is the action that we're doing in our hand, or it's a form of movement for our body and brain.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I love that too because it's like I've been doing it, but it's like, oh, I can do this better. And I don't want
Mm,
to say be more productive, being less productive, but
mm. And I think sometimes it's not even about being productive. It's about kind of getting the best out of ourselves. It doesn't have to be productivity. It doesn't have to be time. We don't have to even bring in more time. The main reason why I talk about time is because people think that's their biggest challenge. They don't have time. And often that's not their biggest challenge. We all have the same amount of time. What often their biggest challenge is to get out of the all the scrambly thoughts that are going on in the head. And the best way to do that is to be actively creative.
I think that makes sense.
So it's a good way to think of it, isn't it? In that we don't have to have an outcome for it. We can literally just sit there with a pen and paper and doodle and scribble or write some words or anything. It can go in the bin afterwards. There doesn't have to be an outcome for it. We literally just need to do something creative. And the reason why it's more important now than ever before is because we're starting to lose that creativeness. Even children at school are now doing a lot of their work on laptops, for instance. So they're not even getting to do handwriting. Um, so some very basic creative things that we would have done even years ago, where we would have, you know, maybe even before time, before we even had words and stuff, we would have been drawing things, even if it was a stick in sand. But that's still a creative thing. When we're only using technology and not using the creative side, it becomes a bit stagnant. And I think that sort of is the same in our brains with business as well.
I would agree with that. I think creativity is so important in business.
Absolutely. It's one of the most underrated things that is spoken about as well in business. We think we need to be great at all these other things in business. We need to be great at marketing and, social media and coming up with new courses and things like that and all of that. All of those have a level of creativity to it. So if you're actually nurturing your creativity, all of those other aspects of your business that you need to do that have creativity in them, you're just going to do that faster. You're going to have better ideas that come quicker, and you're going to have um, much more sort of, it goes back to sort of almost what we were saying earlier about not sounding like everyone else, because we we start to get to know ourselves more the more creative we are as well.
And I would agree that that's really important to know yourself, but also to be able to express yourself. Because sometimes it's like, I know myself, but how do I express that in a way that my audience would understand? And so
Yeah.
there's that part of it too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true.
Was there anything else? I don't know if I see questions.
Yeah, if there's any questions from anyone, I'm happy to answer them. Also happy to answer if people are watching this on a replay or anything. I'm also happy to answer questions like throughout the week or something as well.
Well, I don't see any questions right now, so I don't think there are any at this point.
That's fine. If any questions come up in the week, just let me know. I'm being more than happy to kind of come and answer any questions as well.
Yeah, I can always tag you.
Amazing.
All right. Was there anything else or you're good?
Yeah, no, I think that's it. It's just I could bang on about how important creativity is forever, but I think, the main thing to remember is that it is part of who we are as humans, and it's just something that we're starting to lose a little bit, and then we're wondering why people all sound the same. And we don't want to turn into the AI ourselves. We need to just be able to use AI with a very human creative brain. And the best way to to do that, to amplify that, is by being creative and ensuring we use creativity really intentionally in our daily lives.
I really enjoyed this talk.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you asked for me to come and do this talk as well. So if your audience have any questions or want to find out a little bit more about sort of putting creativity into their business, or if they want to talk, maybe want to find out a little bit more about how to use AI creatively in their business, then I'd be more than happy to hear from them all.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording now. All right, it stopped. I'm always like, stop the recording, then stop the thing, and then like, yeah.
Yeah, it always takes a little while, doesn't it? It tends to take its own little time when it wants to start and stop as well.
Stop it.